Iran has recently devised a new plan to assassinate President Trump that, according to Israeli intelligence, shared with the United States. Two sources who spoke to CNN provided the details. One said the warning came this week. Another source said the U.S. had picked up a steady drumbeat of intelligence in recent weeks about possible plans to assassinate the president, but the warning from Israel was new and concerned a specific plot. The details of that plot were not immediately clear, nor was it clear if the U.S. had detected it separately from the Israeli warning. President Trump alluded to a threat from Iran when asked yesterday why he was leaving NATO on the old Air Force One after arriving on the new Air Force One.
I'd like you to address speculation that you're leaving Ankara not in the new Air Force One because of security concerns involving Iran. You've spoken today twice about them possibly assassinating you and possibly being successful. Did that concern have something to do with it?
Well, I speak about it a lot because, you know, the life of a president is very dangerous. I'm number one on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm number one.
Why aren't you flying on the new Air Force One home?
It's flying to Europe, to one of the big bases, 2 or 3 of the big bases, where we can show it to the people. And we'll be going home by normal methods.
Well, we now know the switch from the new Air Force One to the old Air Force One was driven at least in part by security concerns around the escalating conflict with Iran. That's according to 4 U.S. officials, although there's no indication it was specifically tied to this plot to assassinate the president. Now, all of this is happening, of course, with renewed military strikes between the U.S. and Iran. This was the scene on the Iranian coast earlier today. These are fighter jets taking off tonight from the USS Abraham Lincoln, an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea, carrying out a routine mission over the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. is pausing strikes for now to give diplomacy a chance, according to a U.S. official. We start with CNN's Pamela Brown, who joins us live aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. So what more have you learned about this apparent assassination plot?
Well, Anderson, my colleague Kevin Liptak and me have been talking to sources tonight, and we're told that as recently as this past week, Israel shared new intelligence with the U.S. That Iran was devising a new plot to assassinate President Trump. Now, I'm told from talking to a source that in recent weeks, there has been an increase of intelligence coming in, indicating that Iran was devising new ways to go after the president. We know ever since his first term, it has looked at President Trump as a target ever since the administration took out the Commander Soleimani of Iran. But this is a new plot apparently coming from Israeli intelligence that I should note has not been verified by the U.S., we're told. And one source we spoke to did express some skepticism that this particular intelligence about a specific plot coming from Israel, they do question that, given the fact that they believe that Israel may be trying to influence President Trump. But nonetheless, this is something the intelligence community is looking at and trying to figure out more. We don't have details yet of that specific plot. But as you point out, Anderson, the change of Air Force One planes this past week certainly raised a lot of questions.
And is there any indication this plot or just the security concern, is it connected to the renewed U.S. strikes in the past few days, or it's something that's been in the works for a longer time? Do we know?
I think that's a fair question. The sources I'm speaking to say that it's not related to these retaliatory strikes that we've seen the last couple of days. I'm told that that is directly in response to the Iran strikes on those 3 vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, and that this is all part of a military tactic to strike Iran and then pause to try to get diplomacy back on the table, which is what you're seeing right now. I'm told by a U.S. official that they really want to get diplomacy going, that is taking the lead, and that right now there is diplomacy happening behind the scenes to try to ease tensions, because as we've been talking about, Anderson, this week we have seen those tensions escalate with strikes back and forth between the U.S. and Iran. But it's very touch and go, I can tell you. And talking to folks here on this ship, there's a feeling that things can change at any second and strikes could resume any minute, and they're trying to make preparations for that.
Yeah. Have you seen any more activity on the USS Abraham in the overnight hours there?
Absolutely. And by the way, here behind me, a drill of some sort. They're doing maintenance here on aircraft. So that's that sound. I mean, this ship is going 24/7. And in terms of aircraft, there were operations going on throughout the day with these fighter jets and throughout the night. I believe we have some some new exclusive video we can show you from our time here on the Lincoln today. These are operations from these fighter jets that are defensive in nature. I'm told they've been doing these types of operations throughout their time here, but it, of course, took on new meaning today given this posture of heightened alert. The captain of the ship said that things are heating up, and I can tell you, Anderson, here on the ship, it was a lot busier today with putting armaments on these fighter jets in preparation for potential strikes. Pilots were doing drills. They were getting ready in case they were called on to do a third night of strikes. So far, that hasn't happened. Things are delicate. Diplomacy is underway. But as we've seen throughout this war, Anderson, things can rapidly change.